The Detroit Pistons win their first Summer League game. Bobi Klintman continues to shine, and the Pistons seem to have found another steal on a two-way contract. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more in just a moment.
Lane, skies a jam. Dynamite dunk, and the crowd loves it.
Back to Pistons Intellect. I'm your host, Jack Kelly. You can follow me on Twitter at Jack_Kelly_313. You can also follow us over on Instagram at Pistons_Intellect. And as always, if you're feeling so kind, please hit that subscribe button. Now, today's show, we're going to recap the Pistons win over the Houston Rockets today, where they come back after looking pretty shaky in the first half. The Pistons come back to defeat the Rockets 87-73. And there's a couple of guys that, if you watch the game, you'll know who the two standout players were. But there are a couple of guys that really stood out tonight. And, you know, to be honest, both of these players in Bobi Klintman and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Daniss Jenkins. I'm not sure if that's a correct pronunciation, but I'm just going to call him Jenkins until I figure out the pronunciation. So apologies if that is incorrect. But Klintman and Jenkins both had awesome games. I'm going to start with Bobi Klintman because he has now put together a pair of impressive Summer League games. The 37th overall pick is really starting to look like a steal. It's only Summer League, but I think if the jumper and the three-point shot continues to remain at this level or close to this level, once he gets into NBA play, whenever that might be, I think the Pistons really do have a steal here. And I think I've spoken about this numerous times, but I think he truly fits the modern day four position perfectly. From a role player standpoint, I'm not ready to say he's a starting four in the NBA because there's still a lot he needs to do. But just in terms of the shooting, the rebounding, bit of the passing, and then his ability to get a steal here and there, Bobi, like he said in his own words, has a little bit of Tobias Harris, Nicholas Batum type in him, who are kind of those prototypical fours for this day and age, and they're players that Bobi compared himself to. So long way to go before he gets to those guys' level. But today he had 18 points, 9 boards, 3 assists, 1 steal, and once again shot over 50% from the field, knocking down 7 of 13 shots and shot 50% from 3, draining 4 threes, which 3 of them, I believe, came in the third quarter, and then he knocked down another one in the last quarter. And yeah, it was a bit of a shaky first half for Bobi, like for much of the Pistons, for the Pistons Summer League team. Particularly the first quarter, they struggled. It was really Jenkins who kept them in it, and I'll talk about him in a moment. But Bobi just, once again, 3 assists. He had 5 in the first game, made a couple of really nice interior passes. If anything, he probably could have had 5 again tonight if some shots fell from his teammates. But, you know, regardless, he's creating these. He's just really good at finding cutters in traffic, I've really noticed, which, to be honest, is something I didn't notice a lot here at the NBL level. And it's really, I think the main positive for me is to see Bobi put 2 really solid games back to back together, because down here in Australia, and it was against better competition, I would say, at a professional level than what the Summer League is. But Bobi was very capable of having games like he did tonight, where he scores 15 plus points, grabs rebounds, gets a few steals. But what he struggled with tremendously was putting back-to-back great games together. And tonight, not only did he fill up the box score again, but more importantly, kind of for me, was the shooting efficiency and his ability to knock down the three, but also cut and finish a couple of easy shots around the rim. Like, I think what fans will probably be noticing is that Bobi's not really a guy that creates off the dribble a lot. But what I did like to see off ball tonight was the variation in the way he knocked down some of his threes. He came off a screen, off a handoff, and then fired for a 3. He knocked down. We've seen him relocate for threes. he's not a guy that's just going to purely stand in the corner. He's shown a knack so far through 2 games to kind of move around on the perimeter and find better looks for 3. And kind of, I'm not ready to say he's a movement shooter yet, but he's showing some tendencies of a guy that might be able to shoot on the move a bit better and a bit earlier than I at least thought. And that's really encouraging. So not a whole lot more to add on Bobi. It was just after probably a bit of a subpar first half, he had an excellent second half. And in particular, that third quarter, I think he scored 13 of 18 points. And it was nice to see him as well tonight get to the free throw line. I believe he knocked down 2 free throws. And he also had a transition dunk, which is cool. So go watch the highlights. They're on my Twitter feed, or go find them on YouTube. They're everywhere. So the other player I wanted to talk about was Jenkins out of St. John's. He signed a 2-way deal with the Pistons after the draft, and he's a 6'4" guard. And if you didn't know who he was before tonight, I'm assuming most diehard Pistons fans now know who Jenkins is. After a solid first game, which I did have some people in the comments telling me put some respect on his name. I didn't talk about him after the first game, but tonight, against the Rockets in the win, he was the best player on the court. He scored 26 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks, 50% from the field, and knocked down 6 of 11 threes. And yeah, like I said, best player on the floor. He kept the Pistons afloat in both halves. Really, the first half in particular, when no one else could score, he was the only one knocking down shots. I think he had 12, 15 points at halftime. And then, he hit a couple of he hit a really deep 3 in the second quarter, and then hit some really nice threes off the bounce to close it out early in that fourth quarter when the Pistons were putting together like a 16-0 run on the Rockets. And, he's looked like, honestly, the best guard on the Pistons team so far. There's no questioning that. He's been better than Marcus Sasser. He's been better than Ron Holland, albeit Ron Holland's only played the 1 game. For those who didn't watch, he's out tonight, but it was reported that he's just resting and he'll be ready to go tomorrow against the Bulls, or today if you're watching this. But Jenkins has looked like, I would say Bobi's been Detroit's best player, and then Jenkins just behind. And really cool because the Pistons in the past have had 2-way guys like Buddy Boeheim, Tyler Cook, look, some of these guys have been okay, but for the most part, I haven't really seen a 2-way guy pop in the summer league like this for the Pistons. I'm sure there's been 1 or 2, but just really encouraging to see him put together 1 awesome game and a solid first game where he had 10 points, 5 assists, few steals, a block. Like, he's had at least 1 steal and 1 block in each game, and has combined for 4 steals and 3 blocks across the 2 games. So, and then he shot the ball relatively well in his first game. He just couldn't knock down the threes. And then tonight, the threes start falling. And yeah, he's 22 years old. I'm not sure what the Pistons have here, but if he keeps playing this way, it's just really cool to have someone like that in the G League and on a 2-way who could come in and, you never know, provide minutes in the regular season. Because in the past, a lot of issues that the fan base have had with Detroit, and particularly the last regime in the front office, was they didn't utilize the G League. Well, if you got a guy like Jenkins down there who's putting up these numbers at Summer League, and you would assume he's going to be pretty solid in the G League, it's nice to know you have someone like that in your second team. So awesome game for him. And worth noting, he's Marcus Sasser's best friend. So just another cool wrinkle to the story to see them 2 playing together and both on the Pistons, and see Jenkins get some love and some shine. So awesome to see that. So let me know your thoughts on Klintman and Jenkins. Am I right in my assessment that they've been the Pistons' 2 best players at the Summer League so far? Let me know your thoughts. And the last thing I want to talk about from today's game was Marcus Sasser. Now, once again, it was looking pretty bleak for Marcus in the first half. I'm pretty certain he didn't hit a field goal. Tonight he had the 8 assists, but he had like 4 turnovers. And it's just, he finished the game. He made a couple of tough buckets and got to the line, which was nice, but only made 3 of 9 field goals. Still yet to hit a 3 at Summer League, which is I'm not concerned about his 3-point jumper long term, but it's kind of concerning to see him through 2 games just be shooting it this poorly. So, but yeah, he finished with 13 points, 3 rebounds, 8 assists, couple of steals. And look, I would say maybe I'm being harsh, but I think it's a pretty underwhelming game once again. And I think he's just, I don't think he's a point guard. Like, I was hopeful he could be like a combo guard in the NBA. Like, I don't think he's a guy you want handling the ball as a pure backup point guard. And what Marcus spoke about after the game, and this was courtesy of Brandon Dent of Woodward Sports, so shout out to him. He was there, and he said Marcus Sasser spoke about his role with the Summer League team, and Marcus said he's learning to facilitate more, look for his shot less to better fit the role he'll be playing this season for the Pistons. So basically, Marcus, he's basically at Summer League to develop his skills as a backup point guard, or maybe not. Maybe I'm jumping to conclusions to say he's a day one backup point guard, but he's clearly trying to grow as a facilitator, which is good. I think where Pistons fans will have a concern is if he's the day one backup point guard, because you just see how he kind of struggles. Like, he definitely makes some nice passes. Like tonight, he had some really nice passes, and he had a number of assists to Jenkins. And like, it's not as if he has full on tunnel vision and cannot make passes like a Michael Porter Jr. or someone. Like, he does have guard skills. He's got a really nice handle, but I do think it is a struggle for him to kind of, like, he's such a shot first type guard that I think naturally he's not, it's a bit unnatural for him to be looking to pass and set up others all the time. And so clearly this is going to look a bit rough. So maybe I'm being a little bit harsh on him because he's trying to remold his game at the Summer League, where guys are diving for every ball and are trying to make their way into the NBA. But yeah, if Marcus Sasser is going to be the backup point guard day one, I will have some concerns. And, I'm not saying that the Pistons have to sign Tyus Jones. That would be great. I think for me, you just have to stagger Cade and Ivy all the time, and then rely on guys like Tobias to create a little bit. Maybe you have to feature Jalen Duran's passing a little bit more. But outside of Cade, the playmaking is a concern, because it feels like they've found a heap of shooting. And maybe naturally, because the floor is going to be more spaced, it's going to make it easier for guys like Sasser and Ivy to, more so Ivy, to get downhill and draw defenders and kick it out in a mold of like a Russell Westbrook and play out of pick and roll. Maybe that extra space is going to make Ivy a better playmaker, make his life easier. I would hope so, compared to what last season was. But playmaking is a bit of a concern with this team, as well as rim protection, but that's conversation for another episode. But look, I'm not sure if Marcus Sasser plays tomorrow or the Pistons' 4th game or their 5th. I feel like he might play at least one more game just to kind of try and end this Summer League campaign on a high, even though he did make some nice plays and help them win tonight. But we shall see. We shall see. It looks like today, the Pistons' 3rd game against the Bulls, Ron Holland is meant to play. I'm not sure about Bobi Klintman. I would say Jenkins will play, and we'll see with Sasser. But let me know your thoughts from today's game, main takeaways, what's concerning you. But I should be back to potentially review the Bulls game. If not, I'll be back for my normal Friday episode, and we'll go through and review games 3 and 4 of the Summer League, as well as any other news. And then I think the Pistons will play a 5th game, even if they don't make kind of the tournament finals. So I'll continue to cover the Summer League, it feels like. And we're about to kind of enter the full doldrums of the off season in the next couple of weeks. So I'm really going to try and enjoy this last week of Pistons games, and you guys should too. So as always, I appreciate the love. Subscribe, like, any support is greatly appreciated. But until my next episode, as always, go Pistons.